There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's Daily Brief. It's a special day in the market. It's the day crypto's getting its ass kicked. Whoa, what? No. It is May 11th, which I'm sure all of you guys are aware. If you're not, it's your fearless leader's birthday. And I just turned 21. Woohoo! I could go drink in the States. Oh, party. Sadly, I'm a bit older than that. Actually, I've gotten to the point where I don't talk about my age in public. It's a bit embarrassing. But anyway, great to see everybody on the site. Yeah, I'm 21 in crypto kitty years. Well said, Rick. I like your attitude. Thank you very much for the shout outs, everybody. I gotta say, I'm pretty touched. I think this is probably after JoJo's passing, I sort of kind of went into a shell and didn't really interact with the public and didn't really celebrate Christmas or birthdays or anything. So I have to say, this is probably the first year since then that I've had such a dramatic outpouring of support from the public. So I'm very touched. Thank you very much, everybody. It really means a lot to me. Unfortunately, and the irony of it all is it seems like it's just business as usual. I've noticed that crypto usually shits on my birthday. I've seen it happen so many times. I mean, I've been playing this game now for 4 years in crypto. And almost every birthday that I have, I wake up and it's like, oh, can I have like a birthday treat? Can you give me a nice red treat? And he would turn on the screen. You're just like, oh, fuck me. So, ironically enough, in crypto land, actually, I don't really see a heck of a lot new going on here. Mr. Bear has been counseling us along the way here. And hello, Mr. Bear. How are you this morning? I think he just put his microphone on mute, so I think I caught him off guard there. So maybe give him a moment to get his dolls and dishes together. But he has been counseling us about this death cross, 200 SMA, 50 SMA cross, and how it sort of plays out. Really kind of business as usual in the market. The question ultimately here is usually we have a bit of a dip following sort of coming out of that 420 event. Usually there's a nice little rally. And, we were joking yesterday about how, the media is like saying, oh, crypto's rallied like 70, 80% this morning. Hey, everybody's rich. And, that's not really realistic. The question here ultimately is, do we go back and test those lows that were put in back in March? Or do we have to forge to new lows and keep exploring for a bottom here? So please be cognizant of market state. Hopefully we've had lots of conversations about the previous cycle's peak and how the following year it took some time for the market to clean itself up. At the same time, too, though, I was very pleased, and I suppose we could argue this was my birthday treat this morning. Those people that had open orders working and that were ready, willing, and able to spoon feed the market coin and take profits when they were supposed to got nice doubles. And, I think probably the biggest treat for me on my birthday here today was just simply seeing all of the people in the lounge reporting their double fills. So it just goes to show that the message is getting out. You guys are doing hard work. You're putting the time and effort in. You're buying against lows. You're selling against highs. You're making sure to pay yourself when these things do afford the opportunity to pay yourself. And if anything, that was probably a great birthday treat. On top of the fact that, and what was really interesting about Bitcoin here today was I'm wondering whether a lot of this move was manufactured because of the Chicago boys. And it's interesting how some market participants were like, this wasn't a valid price gap. But I don't know. I mean, we've been talking about how this gap needed to be filled in for a while. And what I noticed was that they set up an AB equals CD event to come and fill that gap. So not only is this gap fill level important, but it's also the end of a harmonic objective. So I'm under the impression that just as sort of they sucker the public into going long, break to new highs. Oh, Brian says, W's are bullish. Rah, 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 let's go long. Then they go and put in an M right after the break to new highs. We might be seeing a similar situation. I think it's a bit early for us to quote unquote call bottoms because we've done some technical damage off of the higher time frames. And I'm a little concerned that this is going to take some time to play out. We've been following, we had a bullish bot working here for quite a while on the Bitcoin, and it broke these recent key lows here today. So those long setups, what I'd like to call the trend continuation trade, they've come off. And the question ultimately here is, do the moving averages roll over and do the institutions start hunting shorts now? So, and also too, big fan of WD Gann. And unfortunately, we had a pretty big fight here. And if this was a bull, we should have held this angle and we should have held these key lows. And you can see we've lost the angle now in earnest. And yesterday was, potentially a nice little fractal bar. But then, halfway through the session, the Americans just shit on the market and it dumped and rolled over. So, I have to sort of temper my bullish enthusiasm for the time being, and I have to just simply ask, whether we have to go back into, we're going to test key support lines. You can see where the 8-to-1 line is. That's sort of Mr. Gann's like magic trade level. You see how it worked out last time. So we're probably, if this thing really gets going in earnest, probably, tests of the low are potentially in our future. I might argue, though, that these key lows here should represent support, and notice that level is against a couple angles, and it's also against the up arc. So I don't think it's going to be a straight line down. And if anything, when Julian and I were sort of reviewing strategy this morning, we'll be looking for the dead cat bounce off of this pullback here, wherever it comes in. To be seriously considering, our hedging strategy for our portfolio. As I said, what it's really predicated on for me over the short term is, if today turns out some sort of white knight comes in and they rally it back up to make some sort of hammer, and then, we continuation, we might be setting up a new bullish bot. We'll have to redraw these levels. Or if we flounder in here and the moving averages do actually roll over and turn bear, well, then we have to start thinking about how deep do we go here. All right, so Mr. Bear is back. Mr. Bear, you got a microphone working now?
Yeah.
Hey, there he is.
Working.
He's coming in from the jungles of Siam, if I'm not mistaken. So they have funny microphones there. How are you doing this morning, sir? Oh, this is going to be a bit of a challenge, eh? All right. It's interesting. We put, yeah, and then James, of all people, hey, that's like my Arkansas internet. So I think Thomas has his microphone on. It looks like he's trying to screen share, but I noticed when I loaded up everything this morning to get ready for our special presentation today, it's interesting. In the title of the YouTube video I put in, Tax Haven Special, we have a special treat. Thomas actually reached out to one of our community members who is very active in the crypto space and has done a lot of research. And he's asked this gentleman to come in and give us a presentation today. Let's see how his internet's doing today. Adam, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Hey, oh, there's Adam. All right, so we do have Adam. And maybe why don't we make this sort of the focus of the beginning? You've heard my rant about Bitcoin right now. We're certainly not missing the boat by just cooling our jets here on Bitcoin for the time being. If anything, we got to let the dust settle here before we get too bullish. So, I will say that we did have stink bids working, and I don't know whether Josh was in the in the call here today or not, but you know, good old demon gap hunters. You can see top of the range, bottom of the range. We were sort of chatting about game credits in the lounge the other day, and I noticed this gap, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I didn't have that much on the book, so I went through a bid in on the gap here, and it's just fantastic example of the way gaps work and how these fills are just awesome levels." If anything, ironically enough, for me to believe that this gap has been filled and it's done, I actually need the market to come in and close the candle body down here. So we'll see how this goes. But long and short of it here, you know, proof of the pudding is in the eating. It wouldn't really be very professional of me if I didn't actually do what I actually tell you guys. And, you know, basically I do everything that I talk to you guys about. And so here's a fill that I got this morning on a gap fill. And also I got this other fill. This was an interesting one that's relatively new to my screen. Didn't have any on the books, saw the chart, saw the W, drew up my fibs and said, all right, I'm willing to go in and just start nibbling away at the line in the sand against the original, you know, lows right in this area. And I got filled on this morning. So I have been doing a little bit of buying. I noticed in the lounge quite a few people were reporting that they were getting fills. And if you look at this sheet, this is what I was sort of worried about. The other day we were looking at things like this Zcash and going, uh-oh. And now hopefully everybody can see the end result of uh-ohs, right? And remember we were looking at Dash a week or so ago, and we were going, uh-oh. And sure enough, you can see him coming down, uh-oh. So the good part about this, though, is that they are cleaning up the fluff. You know, like if we look at this Bitcoin Gold, it's actually come down and hit a mountain man level here. You know, the fear that I had of price coming off, it's getting realized. But what I do like about this is that they are taking the fluff out of the market, which is good, because then that'll set up. And like I said, hearing lots of people with stink bids right across the altcoin market getting fills here. So I thought that was encouraging. But, you know, make no mistake about it. I think that we're still like in the process of this market cleaning up. I don't think today is the bottom. This is probably going to take a week or two to let the dust settle. I do like the idea of hunting setups. If you are a trader and you day trade, well, you got to get in there and you got to take these setups when they come in. I have no idea whether this is going to hold. And frankly speaking, if you ask my opinion is this probably isn't going to hold. But the irony of it all is my opinion means jack shit. And the fact that I actually am worried that this isn't going to hold probably means that this trade is going to work. It's just the way a trader's life is. And, you know, if you haven't gotten to the point of realizing that opinion really doesn't mean a hell of a lot in this game, well, you got to get in the trenches and just keep logging and taking the setups. And you'll see over time that, you know, when the setups come in, a lot of times the sentiment is extremely bearish. You have no idea what the end result is going to be, but, you know, there is a high statistical probability that this double bottom holds and we work our way back up top here. So that would be sort of the white knight scenario. Remember I said on the daily charts if we got a hammer or something. For the time being, you know, I would consider this at absolute most just a simple, you know, it's a 15-minute Phoenix chart, a day trade, but there's certainly no guarantees that this is going to hold. And this is just a trader's life. If you trade the El Tango Nader, well, you got to be in there taking this trade and just live with the results. Okay, so that's sort of what I'm seeing broader market. I think what we'll probably do, Thomas, is your microphone working now?
Let's check. I just switched internet connection, so how do I sound?
Oh, that's much better. All right, good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about that, everyone.
That's okay. Shit happens.
And I did wish you a happy birthday before my mic cut out. So happy birthday, sir.
Thanks, man. And as I said right at the get-go, I'm very touched. You guys really you really touched my heart today, everybody. But people aren't here for the daily brief to listen to Brian Gush. He always is such a crybaby. So let's get a stiff upper lip and let's talk taxes. I'm just kidding. Is there anything in particular you wanted to talk about just before? Yeah, can face. Thank you, James. You're bringing the funny today. Is there anything you wanted to talk about? Just introduce before we release the atom on everybody.
Yeah, I think we should talk about, unless you already did, the reason for this this sell-off that's happening over the last couple hours is news hit that a South Korean exchange by the name of Upbit was raided overnight.
Yeah,
And
I didn't. I talked technicalese. I didn't talk reasons. So if anything, I love the fact that you always sort of keep me on cue. What are the reasons, Brian? What's driving this? So yeah, I heard that actually it's one of the bigger South Korean exchanges that got raided, eh?
Yeah, they got raided, and it's basically because regulators are, I mean, this is all speculation at this point because the police haven't given an official statement. There's nothing come out from any of the state-sponsored media. Basically, the idea is that one of the presidents or one of the other guys that are high up was involved in embezzling client funds, and he was caught. So they've raided the exchange. They're going through all the records in the computers, going through all the data files, seeing if they can trace back all the movement of client funds and see if this guy was responsible for embezzling. But that's allegedly, and that's speculation.
And that's actually okay. In my opinion, that's fine, right?
Yeah, and I think the market's overreacted here. I mean, if this exchange does shut down, there's still BitThumb there. There's a ton of other exchanges. The other thing that
your buddy over in Japan is getting active again.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, so there's one of the Mt. Gox wallets moved. Actually, it was 4 wallets moved 8,000 Bitcoin all into the same wallet, and they're different than the previous address that was used to send these things. So there's speculation right now that maybe he's not interested in selling them and that he's moving them for other reasons. And one of the reasons highlighted was that he wants to move the coins into SegWit approved wallet or SegWit wallet. And there's a couple other ideas out there, but it is interesting if you do search the address that this wallet is that it doesn't have any transactions.
Suspicion of fraud. So I guess
I'm just talking loosely here. I don't actually have an article.
Yeah, at 10:30, you better get off your fucking ass. Obviously, Thomas is being paged. So, there he is. Is he back?
Someone's saying Upbit is linked to Bittrex, which I did not know that. Who said that? Jonas said that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but I suppose anything's possible in this crazy world. But if anything, I do like the idea that the police are raiding them because of somebody committing fraud or embezzling or something like that, and they're just they're going after some bad actors. I don't mind that. What we really don't want to hear is the government has officially banned this asset and you're not allowed to trade it anymore, right? That's the kind of shitty stuff we don't want to hear. So okay, so we've got exchange worries, and if anything, that to me that might be sort of a because this CME chart, I was showing this earlier. I don't know whether you saw this, Thomas, but this was startling to me that how blatant this was. How that basically they just came right down, filled in the gap, and it was a perfect AB equals CD. And I noticed on that event, all the selling just stopped on a dime. So I wonder if the two are related, and whether maybe the CME boys knew something ahead of time. And if anything, if that's it for the FUD, well, maybe that's it. And if we hear that your buddy over in Japan isn't actually dumping coins, but maybe he's giving them away as gifts or something to people, I don't know. Maybe he might even just be paying the coins out without actually selling them. Who knows? Maybe that will set up this sort of scenario. Because like I said, in a weird sort of way, and keep in mind, this is crypto, right? We see this all the time. We might get a big fucking hammer here today. You don't know. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and these Where the hell is that chart that I just had on there? This cute little El Tangonator that fired, I guess, a couple hours ago works. And if that's the case, and we can rally right back up to 8,900, maybe we dodged a bullet today. Who knows? All right. What are you seeing on your charts? And actually, interesting. We haven't hit 38.2 on your chart.
The only thing I want to add is from yesterday.
I heard the only thing I want to add is. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. It sounds like I might have a bit of a delay, so bear with me here. I wanted to go over from what happened yesterday, where we were talking about this massive divergence that's been coming in over the last couple of weeks. And I said that I'd seen a lot of bearish setup validated on the lower time frames. Now, I also said that the week daily also do the same thing, so we can continue
your audio
the daily is now coming into that window. It needs to test 38.2 or even, consolidate from where we're.
Yeah, and I don't even think he can hear us. I think probably, Thomas, we're going to have to put your commentary on hold today.
Forget about
me. All right, Thomas, I think we'll probably have to put you on hold today. Maybe if you get a better internet connection Monday, we'll get an update, or if you feel like coming in on the weekend. I think everybody can see his chart. I put it on the screen here. And long and short of it here is you can see 38.2 off of his OKCoin chart sitting at about 8,300. We have an old expression in the market, let's wait for that 38.2 to resolve itself before we make any big decisions in the market. I suppose we could have a dump down into that reload zone all the way down to 69.50 on his chart. I don't know. I did hear about some massive liquidations on MEX overnight. So it almost is like OKCoin was the shit about a month or so ago, and I'm here. I heard overnight that a lot of our people on that are trading on MEX got fucked over. So maybe it's MEX's turn to shit the bed here. Okay, so I think we have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. Thomas, if you want to maybe write out a sentence or two, a message of how you're feeling and what you're thinking, maybe that might be an idea as a way to convey it to the community. Looking at his chart, you can see that bearish divergence in MACD is still sort of playing itself out. If anything, we're probably going to have to take some time and clean that up. You can see his cokehead, you can see the OBV, you can see Willie is finally coming out of stupid condition. So you can see, the market is slowly trying to clean up. And so he's saying here, need to invalidate divergence. Yeah. So as soon as that divergence is cleaned up and hopefully we put in a bullish divergence going forward, then we can start actually getting back on the bull side. Okay. So interesting sort of angle we took today, but we're just trying our best here. Hey, Adam, how's your audio doing over? You're in Puerto Rico, aren't you? Or do you want to disclose where you are? It doesn't really matter.
You tell me, how's my audio?
It sounds good. Sounds very healthy. So we had all teased everybody earlier in the week that we had a gentleman who wanted to come and give us a short presentation on he had done some research into tax havens, and if you're sitting on a substantial gain in crypto, you might want to consider relocating yourself to try and minimize tax implications. Adam actually put together this really cool little sort of, it's what is it, about a 5 or 6 slide presentation. And if Adam, with your blessing, you just tell me when to get going, and we'll just jump right into this. How does that sound?
Yeah. First, I wanted to just say happy birthday, Brian. I love you. My wife's,
man.
Yeah, you've changed our lives for sure.
Well, that's good. And as I said, I'll be on record if Sherry watches this later on. My best wishes to Sherry and the kids, and everybody's been highly anticipating this presentation. So we've got all the smoochies out of the way. Let's get to work.
All right,
so hit the present button. Is that what you want me to do first? Uh-oh. Did we lose Adam now? Oh, that would suck.
Here.
All right, I'm going to hit the present button. There we are. Everybody sees it in full screen. And you start talking and tell me when to hit the next slide button, and we will go.
I don't see it. I see still Thomas's chart.
Okay, if you click on the white box around my thing, it says that I am presenting to everybody. Let's pop on over to the YouTube page and just see. Guys, what are you seeing over there? Is everybody seeing TRI, Puerto Rico Tax Haven? Grim, what are you seeing? Chet and Tim, what are you seeing? It's the slide deck on YouTube. So they're seeing this.
Great. I see it as well now.
Awesome. All right.
All right.
Fire away. Fire when ready.
Let's go ahead and go to the first slide.
All right. So once upon a time in a land far, far away.
So Puerto Rico has recently become a big tax haven because in 2012, Puerto Rico introduced these tax incentives to attract U.S. businesses and wealthy individuals. These tax incentives are mostly for the Americans, but so Puerto Rico has rapidly become this crypto utopia. There's a huge number of crypto investors here and also businesses on island with a particularly heavy concentration in Old San Juan. There's I don't know if any of you have read about it, but there's some people over there that are looking to either buy up Old San Juan entirely or buy a huge piece of land and create a city that's run entirely on cryptocurrencies. So that's something that they're actively working on here in Puerto Rico. And it seems like everybody I talk to who's an expat is an investor. So, but the basic deal is if you move your business to the island, you pay 4% in tax. Instead of paying US federal taxes, you pay 4% in tax for your business. If you move yourself to Puerto Rico and you become a bona fide resident here, you pay 0 capital gains. Instead of the 38% I would be paying in capital gains to the US, 0 was really appealing to me. If you use yourself up to become a bank or a hedge fund, then you can run that and pay 4% in tax. So obviously these incentives are bringing big money to Puerto Rico.
Can you give us like a ballpark figure of how much it's going to cost to hire a lawyer and all that shit to set all this stuff up there?
Yes, I'm doing it. So, and I've kind of outlined that a little bit, but it's, I pay my lawyer $2,500. There's like a $750 application fee. There's a $5,000 acceptance fee, and you have to donate $5,000 a year to a Puerto Rico charity.
Okay, so if you made, and regardless of whether you make or lose money, you're expected to make that donation?
Yes.
All right.
Yep. It's $5,000.
And as Mike says, there's not much snow there in Puerto Rico. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. No snow.
There you go, Mike. That's enough reason unto itself, eh?
So, you know, not all that glitters is gold here. It is a paradise. But the thing to be mindful of before you all jump on a plane is that last year, the island was ravaged by Hurricane Maria. And their infrastructure here, their electric, their water, everything like that, is aged. And it took a big hit. There's a lot of political corruption here. And in the remote parts of the island, services are yet to be restored. I have not personally been bothered by this at all. It really hasn't had an impact on my life one way or another. I've been very fortunate. But you know, services do occasionally go down for people.
Okay.
So the following is a brief summary of these tax advantages, but I just want to put the misnomer on there that you will want to talk to a lawyer or an accountant for specific information related to your circumstances. I think my lawyers and accountants are great, and if you'd like me to refer you to them, they literally wrote the law here, these laws here in Puerto Rico. So they're the go-to people. And I'm happy to give that information to anybody. If you instant message me your email address, I'll make an introduction.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So there you go. If anything, maybe Adam, you could have your contact information. You know, I don't know how you want to disseminate it, but maybe just PM Adam on the site or something along those lines.
That would probably be best.
Okay.
Yep, so
shall I hit the next button?
please.
Boom. All right.
Okay, so there's several different acts that I'm going to cover. I'm just going to cover 4 acts. This first one, Act 22, is designed to promote the relocation of individual investors to Puerto Rico. So this is what this is the act that I'm applying for, and basically, income earned in Puerto Rico is excluded from U.S. federal tax under this IRC Section 933. So you don't pay U.S. federal tax here. You pay Puerto Rico tax. So this means that once you are eligible for Act 22, it is 100% tax exemption on Puerto Rico source capital gains, interest, dividends realized once you have declared yourself as a resident here. Now, I want to elaborate just a moment on this, is Puerto Rico source capital gains. If you come here and you already have a crypto wallet, and you've got, you know, 1,000 Bitcoin on the book, and you're looking to have an exit strategy, your capital gains that you accumulated before you moved here, you would pay those to the U.S. The capital gains that you accrue after you declare your residency here are free and clear. So if you move here, you can actually specify, once you set up here and you're applying for the application, you can specify what your start date is and pick, for instance, like April 1st when the market was at the bottom. So you do have that flexibility there, but you want to be mindful that it's only on income that you've gained since being here.
Makes sense. If anything, it's this would be perfect for this, you know, this market. Like, you don't want to move there when Bitcoin was 20 grand, but you know, as Bitcoin's sort of working its way down and trying to find a bottom here into the summer, this is like the perfect window to do this, eh?
So you also have, so this means a 100% exemption on short and long-term capital gains, exemption on passive income, and exemption on federal taxes on Puerto Rico source income for bona fide residents. Which, because of this, it occurs to me that instead of using a tether for my crypto, I could use the US dollar as my tether. I could actually pull my money out to US dollar, not incur any capital gains on it, and then buy back in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to consider. It would be, you know, a better tether in a sense.
And
but,
when you say Act 22, this is for individuals?
Yes, this is the one for individuals.
All right. Because I know a lot of us run small businesses, and so
Yep.
I'd be curious to see how the rules apply for that.
Well, then let's go to the next.
Are you running your operation in Puerto Rico as an individual or as a business?
I don't need to run it as I talked to my lawyer about it, and he says, nah, just do the Act 22, you're fine.
Cool. And what kind of window, like time frame for this Act 22 does it take? Is it like a 6-month process or something?
I'll go a little bit more into that in a moment.
Okay.
Yep. Let's go to the next slide, and I'll talk about Act 20. which is for businesses. If you are a small business center and you move your business to Puerto Rico, you pay a total tax rate of 4% instead of the 40% to US federal taxes. So that's basically your answer right there. It's 4%. And grandfathered in for 20 years, and it's renewable for another 10 years. In addition to that, you get 100% exemption on property taxes during the first 5 years of operation. And then after that period, a 90% exemption will apply to your property taxes. No minimum number of employees. This was a recent upgrade to the law. They had it so you had to have 5 employees previously. And that rule's been put out. But basically, the way that this works is, as a resident of Puerto Rico, your normal salary that your company pays you, you would pay ordinary Puerto Rico tax on your salary. You pay a corporate tax on your net profits at a rate of 4%. And then finally, you take out those profits from your corporation as tax-free dividends.
Okay. And I guess, you know, Nathan makes a pretty good point here. What are the statistical odds that some, you know, despot's going to come along and just, you know, change the rules carte blanche? And is it realistic that these guys might come along and just seize your assets?
They might. I'm not sure. I'm following what you mean by seize the assets.
Well, you know, like a Cuba scenario, right? Your assets all of a sudden become part of the state of Puerto Rico.
Well, you know, for a regular business or an individual, there's no requirement on keeping a certain amount of money in the bank here.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, you can keep your money in whatever you want.
Well, suppose if you keep
fine.
your Bitcoin on a USB drive, that might be tough for them to get at too, eh?
Right. Yeah. It's hard to take capital gains on a USB drive that's on a thumb drive. So.
All right. And somebody did ask, and I don't know whether you would be aware. Can you comment on non-U.S. residents and stuff? Does it? Do you know anything about how Europeans handle this, or Canadians?
Well, they would. It's my understanding that you would get the same privileges if you're a bona fide resident here and you're applying for Act 22. The one caveat is that you cannot have a tax base in any other country. So you would have to cut your strings with whichever country you're from, which at least to do that in the U.S. is very, very difficult to give up your U.S. citizenship.
Yeah. It probably is a bit easier for people, non-Americans. Americans, I remember watching a few YouTube videos about actually giving it, and like Puerto Rico is a protectorate of the United States, so or the other way around. If you do this, you are becoming a citizen of Puerto Rico. Is that correct?
Yep. Passport. You're spending $dollars. You have a U.S. passport.
Oh, you have a U.S. passport.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
And just for some perspective on like this 0%, when it occurred to me that I could get 0% on capital gains, I live in Bali, and my wife and my kids are in Bali, and I've been researching and reading this, and when it occurred to me like how big this was, I jumped on a plane and got here immediately, leaving them there. So it's for me, 0% is a very big deal. So
that's an incentive.
Factor in my decision.
Okay. Shall I hit the next button?
Yes.
All right. Boom.
All right. So somebody on the site was asking me about this the other day, about how do I set up a hedge fund here. And there's two different ways. Oh, go back one.
Yep, sorry about that.
So Act 185 is fairly easy to do. And this allows you to become your own crypto hedge fund. And you simply pay 4% in taxes. And certain income may be actually exempt from those taxes. But for those of you wanting to manage US or international funds, you may want to, in addition to this, look at Act 273, which is to start your own offshore bank. Now, this is really attractive because, well, for one, it's the least expensive country to start up your own bank. And I'm not talking about getting an offshore bank account, but becoming an actual full-service international crypto bank if you want to. You can do that here legally. They're not giving them away, but it's totally straightforward process to do this. And one of the reasons that the Act 273 appeals to people is because, say you don't want to live in Puerto Rico, but you're willing to come down here, you're willing to do the time, right? You take your capital gains out. If you start up Act 273 and you set up your own offshore bank here so that you're the bank, you can leave Puerto Rico legally and continue to only get the 4% on the profits wherever you live in the country. So in a lot of ways, that's one of the best ways to keep the tax ride going after you leave Puerto Rico. Something to consider.
Okay. Bank of Beamish. No, it's gonna be the Bank of Crypto Demon Gap Hunters.
I think the TRI Bank. I'm all for the TRI Bank for sure.
That'd be cool. Wouldn't that'd be fun, eh? Awesome. Okay, so something definitely to think about. Shall we move on to the next slide? Is that where you want us going next?
Yes, please. Next slide.
All right. To qualify.
Okay. To qualify. So, as an American, you need to have a physical presence in Puerto Rico for 183 days during the tax year. You can't spend more than 182 days in the US. So if you want to qualify for 2018, you need to be here by July 1st to get your 183 days in for the rest of the year. So your time is running out. Get your ass on a plane. Okay. There's an exception to this 183 days if you're a U.S. citizen. And this is a loophole to the law. But if you're an expat like me, and I don't really go to the U.S., but there's a clause, if you're in the U.S. for less than 90 days, then you can pass a domicile test based on intent. And in my case, I may only need 3 to 4 months to qualify for this exception. So for those of you that travel and are in the US less than 90 days, count towards your domicile test. And you know, what they basically want to see is that you are returning home to Puerto Rico after doing your business, that this is your home and your residence, and instead of the US. That's pretty much what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And we can't really comment on whether you're Canadian or European, how this is affected, but nonetheless, for our American audience, you know, sounds to me like you got to get off your butt and get down there by the beginning of July.
Yes.
And I guess the question would be, if you got your butt into Puerto Rico by July 1st, can you be working away on the paperwork while to get all this set up? Would that qualify?
Yeah, it's very straightforward. I mean, I want to, before you just jump on a plane though, I mean, if you need to be able to pass a criminal background check in the state that you're coming from, the state that has your driver's license. So, you know, that might be an issue for some people, but yeah, sorry, James. But
James. I interestingly enough, I wouldn't have thought that as an issue for myself, but nonetheless, I suppose that is a concern for some people.
I don't think it's a matter of parking tickets or anything, but
all right.
So I addressed this earlier, that you cannot have a tax home outside of Puerto Rico, and you cannot maintain close connections to the United States or any other foreign country than Puerto Rico.
But if you set up the whole banking thing, you can.
Yes, but you need to come here and play the game to set up the banking thing.
Yeah, totally.
Throw $10 million at it and have 4% for the rest of your life, unless you move. But it's nice. So yeah, they want you to basically break as many of your ties to your home state as possible, and create as many new ties to Puerto Rico as possible. This is where you get your driver's license. You have to register to vote here, and you have to make Puerto Rico your home.
Right.
Caveat here is, when you register to vote in the U.S., when you register to vote in Puerto Rico, you cannot vote in a presidential election in the U.S. anymore. So that's why I don't think Trump is getting in the way of this law, because he's like, all the people that would vote against me are leaving.
Yeah, they may be, eh?
The residency requirements for the business are the same. So, you know, you're basically, the business is tied to you. You have 183 days, and you're in.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious. I mean, I'd like to just give your contacts a call. I mean, I have issues with my son and his funding, his government funding here for his programs. But myself, there's not really a heck of a lot holding me here in Canada, and I'm sitting on a whole whack of TRI cash, and I sure like the sound of the tax haven. Okay. Shall we move on to the next slide, or what are you thinking we go?
So you want to break as many ties. So it is recommended that you purchase a residence. My lawyer has said it's not a big issue for me. And I'm totally okay to rent until I decide to purchase.
Yeah.
But, you know, if there's any question about whether or not you're actually becoming Puerto Rican, having a house is a better way. And I'm finding the property here to be very affordable, but maybe I'm jaded.
Do you speak Spanish? Is it required to speak Spanish with all these dealings?
I do not. I've had so many languages that I've had to learn to speak this year. I do not know Spanish.
No, what somebody asked in the lounge, you know, would that be a requirement? So your lawyer contacts, they're all fluent in English?
Yeah, English is, I do not have a problem where I live speaking English at all. It's totally fine where I live. There's probably areas where it's more of an issue. But
yeah, Glass Nation, I'm not quite sure who that is, but he says on the YouTube page, I had great success working with Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I think that's the guy that I watched his videos. He helps you create and execute a personal offshore strategy. He is the best in offshore research and development, in my opinion. Thank you, Glass. Appreciate that. You know, for most of the world, it isn't really that big of an issue to move around. But for Americans, the American government, like literally, even if you move overseas, they still want a piece of your ass.
Oh yeah.
So that for you Americans, it's a bit tougher. I know in past years, Canada wasn't that way, but it's interesting as these governments are all incredibly strapped for money and basically bankrupt. you can see all these Western nations are one by one closing all these sort of things and following the American model. So yeah, no, that's this is cool stuff. Thank you very much, Adam. I appreciate it.
I just want to add, like, if there's any concerns about whether or not the government is going to close this down, I know the people that are developing the laws, and they're expanding the laws to make them better and more friendly, because it's working. They're getting people who are coming here and choosing to make Puerto Rico their home. So this program has been going since 2008, but expanded since 2012.
No, I don't mean to cut you off here. Would you prefer this slideshow be kept private, or can we disseminate it to people on the site who'd like this information?
Yeah, they can. You can have it. Sure. You can have the slideshow to do whatever you like.
Okay, because somebody in the lounge just asked, can a link be provided to this document that we're looking at here on the Daily Brief? So if you'd like, Adam, if you want to post that in the lounge, that would be awesome.
Okay. And then finally, the last requirement is that you need to give $5,000 per year to a Puerto Rico-based charity of your choice. And there's plenty of worthwhile charities around.
Yeah, that's cool. So that means like you could literally like go to an orphanage that you'd like to personally help, and be sort of their benefactor kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and if anything, I like that because like the tax system in Canada here, for example, you just throw your money into a black hole and you have no fucking clue where it goes. So I really like the sound of that. Mind you, I would probably be, well, no, I don't want to make any smart ass comments here. But nonetheless, I'm sure there's lots of orphanages and stuff like that I would love to try and help. So that's cool. That's really, I'll tell you, absolutely. I've got this beautiful son of mine, and he has a whole bunch of issues. So, I'm kind of handcuffed right now while I'm dealing with Liam. But, if I didn't have Liam, fuck, man, I'd be on the plane. I'd be hanging out on your patio this afternoon, dude. But so, if you don't have strings attached, this is definitely something to consider. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We're definitely, in this for capital gains here in crypto, and the gains are there. And, it seems logical to me. What I think is going to end up happening with crypto is it's going to be kind of like, who can provide, because the world is so desperate for growth right now. And, countries like Puerto Rico are, basically technically bankrupt. They're desperate to try and attract any kind of revenue possible. So it makes sense to me. It's logical. So. Okay, shall we hit the next slide? I think the next slide's a bunch of pretty pictures, though. This is the teaser, isn't it? There you go. Now, why would we want to move to Puerto Rico? And she's running one of the charities, isn't she? Oh no, she is. Definitely she is. I'm totally interrupting. Go ahead.
There's a lot of natural beauty here in Puerto Rico, for sure. Now, I personally live in this really small, chill, little surfing town that's just filled with yoga and snorkeling and surfers, and that's where I live. It's beautiful. I live
and you have reliable internet access?
Oh, I've got cable, and it's it works.
Awesome.
And it's reliable.
I used to live on St. Thomas. So, and actually when I used to travel between the States and the Caribbean, we used to always stop off in Puerto Rico. So I've spent plenty of time in the Puerto Rican bars, but I've never seen this side of the island.
Yeah, so where I live, it's paradise. I was from Hawaii before I moved to Bali, and this town that I'm in reminds me of Paia in Maui, but a little bit more chill. So the So there's a lot of yoga here. There's a lot of like health conscious people and a lot of surfing, horseback riding right on the beach. Every day you see it. You know, I do have a hammock. Guilty.
That's Shane. That's what this guy here is for. There's the candy for the girls, and this guy here. Shane was just like, "What about the ladies? What do we? How do we appeal to the ladies?"
You know, I mean, it's a fairly good representation because I just haven't seen that many guys here.
Oh, well, even better score.
The conversations, like you can have a conversation with anybody. Everybody's really laid back and really chill and really easy to talk to. Where I'm at, the other side where all the crypto people are, or the majority of the crypto conglomerates are is Old San Juan. And Old San Juan is a city. I don't like cities. I'm not a city guy particularly. I'll go and I'll visit and I'll have a good time. But, you know, I like my quiet and my solitude. I have two friends.
Is the island big enough that you actually notice the difference?
Pardon?
Is the island big enough that you actually notice the difference?
Yeah, absolutely. I have, for instance, I have two crypto friends who came over to the side of the island that I'm in, and they like were here and they experienced this area long enough to say it's too quiet here for us. We're going over to Old San Juan, and they like the vibe of Old San Juan. It's really I haven't spent much time there, but they really like the vibe of Old San Juan.
That's cool.
So yeah.
If anything, what would be so cool, Adam, is maybe even think about like creating some sort of like retreat there, and we could use you as sort of like a conduit to, you know, people that want to do this. They can sort of stop off at your place and pay you rent and stuff like that, and create like a TRI like commune kind of thing, and then they can branch out following that.
So there was this house that I found prior to the house that I'm in now, and it would be perfect for that. It's 2 floors, 2 kitchens. It's got a total of 5 bedrooms, but I think it's got a lot more beds than that. And
okay, man.
In the event we were actually able to sublet it out, and if people were willing to ride scooters instead of drive cars, it could be a perfect TRI pad. There's not a lot of parking, but it's got a good views, and it's really inexpensive. The whole house, $1,500 for the whole house, and there's like 5 bedrooms, and you could set up your crypto space to work. And
fuck, man, seriously, man, I'll be there. You know, a guy like me, I'm kind of handcuffed because of Liam, but I like it. Don't get me wrong. But dude, I'd be on that plane today. Jesus,
why couldn't you bring it down here? I mean, I don't imagine why you couldn't hire 1 or 2 people or 3 people to do it in shifts. You know, I mean, the locals are hungry for work and opportunity. I pay my cleaners about $10 an hour, and they're incredible. You know, I mean, hiring help is not as inexpensive as Bali. Bali, it's $200 a month for help, but you know, $10 an hour is very reasonable in my mind.
Totally. So Thomas is asking, and you know, in your surfer town, it's not that bad, but what's the relative crime like here?
I would imagine that crime in the area that I live in is maybe theft, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't see any. Everybody's really chill. It's a really chill vibe here. On the other side of the island,
I think like if we actually, because like Frederico's here saying, you know, maybe we should like put together a pool. Maybe if you could ask your accounting guys or something like that, maybe what we should do is create like a little sort of like TRI kind of like fund, and just set up this little bank or sort of thing, and everybody at TRI just buy like 1 share of the fund. You know, throw maybe like, you know, 10 grand, 20 grand or something into this little fund, and set up this sort of like little, you know, model that we're we're talking here. Do you think you could maybe ask your accounting guys if that's even a realistic idea?
I'm not sure I have a clear idea of what you're asking, what you want to do with that money.
Well, we'd probably, 10, 20 grand or something to spend to set up the little bank so that people could come and go and do all their banking through that. And then, set up like a long-term lease or, a mortgage or something for the house that you're talking about,
So
$1,500 a month or something.
One thing that you could do that would be fairly straightforward in that event is you could set up the bank, like I was talking about, set up the offshore bank.
Yeah.
I personally would not be able to bankroll that myself, but if we got enough people together.
Well, I wouldn't want you to do it on your own, but if we've got a few hundred people on the site, if everybody threw in like 10 G's, I mean, Jesus, we could create quite a nice little fund.
If we set up a crypto bank, it would be able to invest. I mean, you set it up, TRI Crypto Bank, that's the best way to go. And then anybody can put money in, and it's basically taxed at a 4%. The only thing that's cheaper than that is if you trusted somebody enough to take money for you and then give it to you afterwards. That would be the only thing that would possibly be cheaper. But
yeah, well, all I'm asking is it realistic to talk to your banking and your lawyer contacts for us to even just table this idea to them and see what they might have to say? They might have some suggestions.
Yeah, so it's $10 million to set up a bank here, which is
10 million. All right, okay. Well, that might be a little bit out of our league.
It's still the cheapest in the world. Most of them are a lot more money.
Yeah, understandable. All right. Well, this is a really interesting conversation today. Thank you so much for bringing this to us, Adam. I really appreciate this.
On the other side of the island in the cities, my experience of walking around the town was that you don't want to be out after dark. The buildings on the other side of the island, from my experience, and I think somebody else might have a different experience, but they tend to be, there's gates, there's bars on everybody's windows, everybody has a walled-in yard, there's pit bulls, a lot of people live in buildings or high-rises or condos. Everybody has security on that side of the island. So that's the vibe on the other side of the island from my experience.
It's a bit dangerous, eh?
But there are these guys, Richard Branson's involved, and he got this hotel called the Monastery, and there's all these crypto people that are just hanging out there and doing their crypto thing and sort of living in that sort of Burning Man-esque vibe all the time over in the old San Juan area.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to live down on St. Thomas, and we used to live on a sailboat. And at nighttime, you could sit and listen to the gunfire and the projects. That was sort of our evening entertainment. So I don't know whether it would be that bad, but the problem is if the economy goes really bad for them locally, obviously people get pretty desperate. They can do some pretty crazy stuff. So
yeah.
But anyway, long and short of it is, there's crime and danger anywhere you go in this world. Okay, well, that's the top of the hour. I greatly appreciate you taking the time and effort to put this presentation together for us, Adam. I am seeing Garrett here saying Act 273. He's giving us a price that says 250,000. So, those kind of dollar figures, I think we could definitely seriously consider. 10 million. That might be a bit high. But if we had everybody on the site throw in 10 G's or something, everybody that could afford to, and we got 100 people, that's $1 million. We could do some damage with that. And if anything, it makes sense to try and go attack. Attack's probably not the best word, but how do you say this politely? Puerto Rico is in a bit of a desperate situation right now, right? And if anything, as capitalists, our job in the marketplace to buy low, sell high. Well, in essence, that's exactly what this kind of is. And you can, in a weird sort of way, you can play countries and their tax policies and their corporate policies just the same way that we play the market. So hats off to you, anybody who can take advantage of these opportunities. And again, thank you very much, Adam. I really appreciate the time and effort that you put into this. It really speaks about this. Oh, something else you wanted to add? Sorry.
So I'm happy to put anybody in contact with my attorney. PM me on the site with your name and your email address, and I will CC you on an email to my lawyer to start the introduction, and you can take it from there. And I'm totally game about talking about like setting up a TRI house here if there's an interest here, but my side of the island is quiet. You know, this, what you see here is what you get on my side of the island. The other side of the island is a little bit busier, you know?
And what's the availability of food and like fresh drinking water and stuff? Like, do you have to, is it a long commute to a supermarket for you?
No, I mean, I drive, I choose to live out in a more removed area, so I drive 10 minutes to a supermarket.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
Reasonable.
Okay. Well, definitely food for thought. No doubt about it. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Gary just asked, how do we get in touch? So Adam, what do we want to maybe create like a Google Sheet or something like that for Adam? I know Shane, you're like super duper at these Google Sheets. So, you know, I don't know if anybody wants to quarterback that. I mean, I suppose I can always throw one together, Adam, if you want to, but we could, you know, just put down like a, you know, keep us informed kind of list. And, you know, if we put down a list of like, you know, 50 people that are interested, maybe let's say like you have to have like a minimum of $5,000 contribution or something like that. You know, 50, 100 people, we could put together a little ammunition for your lawyers to think about, you know, what would be the best way to structure this. So this is really cool. Thank you very much for this presentation, sir. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I'm a resource. Just PM me, and I'll do what I can. Are you going to post this link in the lounge? Or should I?
It's entirely up to you guys. What do you think? Does anybody have any suggestions? Does anybody want to be the quarterback of this project? Any volunteers?
Post the link in the lounge because lounge isn't working for me today.
Oh, it isn't?
No, I can't get on it. So.
Oh, did you have you know, some of our level 2ers, we were expecting to be moved on to the new website by now, but it's still taking forever to move. So the current level 2ers, some of them actually had their site subscription, you know, it ran out of time for the level 2 program, but Sjord said that he went through and tried to fix all those people. So Adam, can you maybe try again to see whether you can get on the site? And if not, and all level 2ers and level 3ers, if you're also in that situation, please let me know whether you're having problems getting on the site, and Sjord and Julian and I will still keep working away on that.
I'm in the site, but the lounge talk thing is not loading for me. I just have a little white box there. I've tried it in a couple of browsers.
Okay, well that's good to know. So I'll actually get Sjord too. So you know what? To hell with it. Let's just do it now. Okay, so we will create. Let's do it over here. So we will create the drive. We will go new, and we'll go sheet. And we will call this, we'll say Puerto Rico interest list. And then we will put down your name and then your email, something really simple like this. If anybody wants to make this pretty, by all means, knock yourself out. Let's go like that, and we'll go like that, and we'll edit. Anyone with the link? Yeah, okay, so that's done. Okay, so here is the link. It's just a really, really simple Google Sheet. Anybody wants to make it pretty, knock yourself out. There it is. I will put my name as the first person on the list, Brian B. And we'll go admin at therationalinvestor.co. So I'm on the list. If you want to follow me, I see all you guys piling in there. So, and why don't we just put up the top, Puerto Rico interest list for.
And so this list is specifically for looking into setting up the fund, the 273.
I don't know. What, if anything, probably what we should do is take some time and explore exactly what our options are here. But you've definitely perked my interest. And I love the idea of creating like a commune kind of thing, a place where TRIers could go to paradise, where we all sort of hang out. And if this became sort of that central hub, and if people really like the atmosphere, they just decide to stay. But we had sort of like a central hub, and like everybody just buys like a 1 share interest in the program, and maybe it costs you like $5 grand, 10 grand, something like that, and it gives you sort of access to the facilities, something along those lines. I'm just totally just throwing it out there right now. And then this little fund has, goes through all the sort of legalese and everything, and just makes sure all the bills are paid and stuff. That's the kind of thing where I would be more than happy to relocate myself and Liam down there and live that life, if this really gains some traction. And if anything, I'm kind of feeling like we're ready to take this next step. Liam is going to become an official adult at the end of next year. So he will be transitioning into the adult program. Right now he's in the children's program, and he gets a whole bunch of services that just aren't available for kids anywhere else. So I kind of want to try and take advantage of that as much as possible. But at the same time, too, I can easily just hop on an airplane and I can be there tomorrow, right? So you definitely have my interest. And frankly speaking, I don't know what this would look like right now. All it is just purely exploratory. You've caught my interest, as Homer would say. Your views intrigue me, sir. I wish to subscribe to your newsletter. And then I actually get to meet you face to face. Wouldn't that be a fucking awesome bonus? I mean, that's a bonus unto itself.
Just come down. I'll take care of you.
Oh, hey, well, there you go. Hey, just now you're singing to me. Okay, so we got the list. I put my name down on there. I don't see anybody else who's done anything, but let's build out that list. And I think if anything, what we probably should do is, just sort of say, like a bracket here, min, and I don't know whether 10,000 or 5,000 buy-in required, something like that. Whatever the numbers are, but to participate, you got to put up a couple bucks. So something to chew on, and let's see where this takes us. I mean, this is a great conversation to have here. One BTC. There you go. Everybody said that's the required deposit. Actually, I suppose if we go there and you show them, hey, look, we got 150 BTC. We want to set something up, right? That's going to speak volumes, isn't it?
Hey, Brian, you have to make this editable.
I thought it was. Is it not? Okay, let's make sure. Share. Anyone with the link can edit. Anyone with the link go. Okay, so that's where I screwed up. Sorry, Chief. Anyone with the link? Sorry. I know it's terrible. I'm dead air. Get rid of the dead air. Say something. All right. Okay. I think I changed it so that you can edit it. You want to tell me whether? Yeah, there you go. Okay. I can see you guys rocking. All right. There you go. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. Okay. Wow. What a cool birthday. Maybe this was your birthday gift for me, Adam, is to to open my mind, to expand my mind, and think other alternatives. So thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Come down for vacation. You can stay here, check it out a little bit. See
yeah, well, the problem is, and my big worry, half of my worry, honestly, is I'm worried that if I leave Vancouver, I might not want to come back. that's honestly a really big worry that I have. So
all the more reason.
I have, of course, my son that I'm dealing with. But if I didn't have my son, I tell you, there wouldn't be any reason for me to be living here in Canada or BC for that matter. But anyway. Okay. All right. I'm feeling really positive. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Thomas, for reaching out to Adam and putting all this together. I really appreciate that too. Let's have this as sort of maybe an ongoing conversation. Maybe Adam, if you feel like maybe coming in and talking to us maybe once a month or something like that. I'd love it, Okay. On that note, what do you think? Oh, and do you mind if I put the link to this deck like in that document?
Yeah, please. Document is yours. I can make it editable.
Okay. So I'll just throw this this link right in there. All right. I'm feeling good. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate this. Okay, on that note, let's see how our good old Bitcoin's doing, hanging in there, bumping against the low end of the range. Looks like names are coming off the lows, so that's encouraging. And if we're really, oh yeah, look at that. Didn't I tell you earlier? You just never fucking know in this business. So now our little long ideas continuing to work away. So if we're really lucky, by the end of today, when they print the close of this daily candle, maybe it turns out to be a big ass hammer. And this was just a head fake based on that FUD out of South Korea and the maybe we find out that Mr. Mt. Gox Trust was wanted to go and buy some women's lingerie or something with Bitcoin rather than liquidating. All right, guys. Thank you again, Thomas, for your contribution. Thank you, Adam. Is there something else you wanted to add in here, Thomas?
Is my audio working?
Yeah, you're back, but make it brief.
All right. Just, I would just say that we're going to play a short-term bounce onto the upside, and we have to wonder if this daily divergence is going to invalidate itself. I was trying to get that out earlier, but I want to make sure that this actually does roll over. And as Brian's saying, this is the key area here. So any kind of pullbacks back into here, you have to draw your reload zones. And then we also have to worry for a potential market structure to come in. But my thinking at this point is that by the time that happens, this MACD will pop back up. And I'd like to see that invalidate at least this divergence here. And then we can kind of continue climbing higher. I like that Willie's coming off here. I know that we've been bearish or anticipating this pullback, but just watch your 38.2 level and see how it behaves. We're going into the weekend now, and I'm excited to see what happens here, because I think the institutions are the ones that are responsible for pushing this down here. And we've seen weekend buying interest come in very strongly, especially last week. I'm interested to see if this is kind of the same buying window that we'll see happen once New York comes into the closing time here. And I think that's a really key important time frame to watch. The weekend action is kind of crucial here for what happens and sets up the trade for next week. I know both New York and London are going to be eyeing what happens over the weekend to set up how they're going to be playing next week. So that's those are my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Why don't we leave it at that for today? We got about a good hour and a half there for everybody. We'll try and do a broiler chickens show over the weekend, but please understand Shane's planning on getting me polluted tonight. So I may be crawling back in to my bed at some ungodly hour this morning. So, no. You know what? Actually, Shane, it was so cool. I don't know whether you saw, and anybody who's here in Vancouver, You know what's becoming really popular, and it's a fun little side thing on my son's bebop radio station. The fad now is to listen to music and meow over all the words. Just go meow, 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 meow. I was listening to them on the radio. This has become a total fad. So like Shane is like set like precedent here. I don't even think he realizes it. I'm hearing everybody in Vancouver's meowing to everything.
The meow is spreading. Yes.
You've started something, dude. So I thought that was hilarious. If you want to listen to the cute little girl on what's her name, Casey Joe or whatever on 102.7. Now all she does is she just meows to everything. And as soon as I heard her do that, I was like, Shade, what have you done here? All right, guys, you all have yourselves an awesome afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Play from a position of strength. You know, don't take any wooden nickels. And if we're all really lucky, we can hang out on Adams Beach and watch the surfers carve up the waves going forward here. So have yourselves a great day, everybody. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you, as always, Thomas. PMA for the win. All the best, and bye for now.